breathtaking views and beautiful creatures. Horton Plains in Sri Lanka. Horton Plains in Sri Lanka is the coldest and windiest location in the country. It consists of ecosystems such as montane evergreen forests, grasslands, marshy lands and aquatic ecosystem. At an altitude of 2,100 meters above sea level, Horton Plains spreads across over 3,169 hectares of the highest tableland of the island. In view of the large number of endemic flora and fauna species, Horton Plains was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site on 30th of July 2010. Ecological importance of Horton Plains. Horton Plains, its surroundings, forests and the adjoining peak wilderness constitute Sri Lanka's most important catchment area of almost all major rivers. The plains are also of outstanding scenic beauty and conservation importance, containing most of the habitats and endemic plants and animals representative of the country's wet and montane zones. The western slopes support the most extensive area of montane cloud forest surviving in the island. Horton Plains is not merely a destination for nature tourists. Since the rich biodiversity of Horton Plains is still grossly underexplored, it affords invaluable opportunities to those engaged on educational and research activities. Protecting Horton Plains is a call of duty for all Sri Lankans. Climate of Horton Plains. The climate of Horton Plains is that of a wet montane forest. The average annual temperature of 14,160 centigrade while the humidity is relatively low at 65%. Though annual rainfall of the highlands is about 2,540 millimeters, Horton Plains records over 5,000 millimeters of rainfall annually. Location of Horton Plains. Location of Horton Plains. During the dry season, the temperature drops to around 50 centigrade in the daytime. Swept with strong gale force winds at times, overnight frost is fairly common. Terrain of Horton Plains. The gently rolling plateau of Horton Plains at the southern end of the central montane massif of Sri Lanka is interspersed with network of streams and channels. The montane forest is also the source of three major rivers of Sri Lanka, River Mothuli, the longest river of Sri Lanka, River Wallave, and River Kelani. Still more, Horton Plains is bounded by the country's second and third highest mountain peaks of Sri Lanka, Mount Karagalpodakanda, 2,389 meters, and Mount Thodapalakanda, 2,357 meters. The escarpment with a depth of 900 meters called World's End and Baker's Falls is one of the highlights of the Horton Plains. History of Horton Plains. The Great Plains of the Central Highlands of Sri Lanka was discovered by the planter Thomas Farr in the early 19th century. In 1834 it was named Horton Plains in honor of then-governor of Ceylon, 1831 to 1837, Sir Robert Wilmot Horton. In the year 1969, Horton Plains was declared a nature reserve. In 1988, the reserve was elevated to the status of a national park. Location of Horton Plains. Horton Plains is spread over the southern ridge of the Central Highlands in between Nuwara Eliya and Iputal. The tourists approaching Horton Plains from Nuwara Eliya find an entrance point at Padipala while those approaching from Iputal find an entrance point at Ohaya. 3 kilometers drive from either entrance leads to the newly built Visitors Center. Visitors Center exhibits interesting displays on the history of flora and fauna of Horton Plains. Circular Trek in Horton Plains in Sri Lanka. The Visitors Center is significant in the sense, it has become the starting point for the 9 kilometers main trek of the Horton Plains. The main trek taking a circular route can be enjoyed within 3 hours. The trail opens up with an expansive view of flora, bare patna grassland here, densely wooded cloud forest over there. Once the grasslands are passed, the trek leads for about 2 kilometers through a fine expanse of cloud forest. Grown in the forest amidst new shrubs and kina trees are spices grown in the wild, pepper, cinnamon and cardamom. World's End in Horton Plains in Sri Lanka. On the southern edge of the Horton Plains at an altitude of 2,140 meters is famous World's End, an escarpment that falls sheer 900 meters. The man-made modern irrigation reservoir contained within the National Park of Udawale brings in a lovely view of the low-lying plains of the southern Sri Lanka. On a clear morning, the World's End affords the view running to the southern coast of Sri Lanka. The panoramic and distant views are bound to get obscured by the mist from around 10 a.m. onwards. As such, an early morning arrival at the escarpment would stand in good stead. Especially in the rainy months of May to July, the mist is particularly thick. Circular trek past the World's End. At a distance of mere 200 meters beyond World's End, the trek turn off the ridge inland to another lovely attraction, Baker's Falls, named after Samuel Baker. If the scramble down to the waterfall is easy though slippery and steep, scrambling up the waterfall back to the trek would find you short of breath in the high altitude. Past Baker's Falls, the track runs through open Patna grassland, of which stillness is broken only by the resonant croaking of thousands of frogs in the trees and grasses.